Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Good morning. We are live at the World of Wellness Weekend, edition 109. 109. Hello, everybody. My name is Mike Gallagher. I'm your host for the next short period of time. We're going to discuss my favorite supplement of all time in a second, dimethylglycine. But we have a lot of great things happening right now. We have free samples, free literature, incredible discounts, free food coming up here in about an hour. Okay. And most of all, you have us, the experts. We've been doing this a long time. In fact, I'm the only one who's ever been to all 109 of these events. So, for those who don't know me, my name is Mike Gallagher. I'm a certified lifestyle educator. I've been in the nutrition industry over 30 years. I've been in the working with the professionals for the last over 20 years. So we have many different things happening here. Yeah, thank you. Got a little glitch. Go back to the beginning here. So for those who are not aware of World Wellness is, I just want to read it off here. 2419 Baldwick Road, right off Green Tree exit, Pittsburgh. Very convenient to a lot of people. And so we have all kinds of things happening here. We have a full house of attendants right now, ready to listen to this. But we also have extreme discounts as well, folks. And we know price matters, so we have these incredible sales going on right now. So you definitely want to take advantage of all those. But so let's go into the talk. Okay, so whenever I talk to a healthcare practitioner for the first time, and they say, what's so unique about Nutritional Frontiers, right? What makes it different than any other supplement company? Because there's folks, we know there's hundreds of options out there, thousands of supplements to choose from. But I always start with this, dimethylglycine. We use it more than any other supplement company in the industry. We have more research and science behind it than anybody else. We know the benefits of this, and we'll talk about just some of the amazing benefits here in a minute and how it can actually accelerate and you get faster, quicker results when you add DMG to anything that you already are taking. So it doesn't matter if it's a multivitamin or fish oil or a probiotic. When you combine DMG with any supplement, you will get faster, quicker results. And so, people are blown away. Most people have never heard of this. Most doctors have never heard of DMG, even though it's been around for 50 years, folks. So the research on this goes back to the 70s, 1970s. And believe it or not, DMG is in every cell in our body, and every mammal on the planet makes it. However, with humans, 99% of us are deficient in DMG. Okay, so we'll explain that here in a minute as well. So we're not adding anything foreign to the body. We're just simply jump-starting or rebuilding what's already there, and then we can really get some incredible results. So a lot of the research that has been done on DMG is by Dr. Roger Kendall, who is a PhD molecular biochemist. But that's how deep we go into the science, and he spent his entire lifetime researching it and wrote a book about it, and we'll show you that book here in a minute. But if you want to look at the research more in detail, if you go on PubMed, okay, so PubMed is the gold standard of all published research. All medical doctors refer to it, and you type in dimethylglycine, you'll see over 600 published medical studies on it, right? So a doctor can never say there's no research on DMG. They just aren't aware of the research. And that's what we do every day, is to show them the research about this. Okay? So let's get into it here. So when you look at again, this is just a small sample of the amazing benefits of DMG. And so when you look at this list, it's quite extensive here. Pretty much covers almost every major chronic health condition. So when we look at this, improving oxygen, methylation, it will help with detox. It boosts your immune system. In fact, there's a U.S. patent on it for that. We'll show you that. It helps with heart function and all cardiovascular issues, especially blood pressure. It's an anti-inflammatory. It's an antioxidant. It improves liver, again, going back to the detox. It passes through the blood-brain barrier, so it helps with all neurological issues. And believe it or not, the big C, cancer, there's actually published studies on this and a patent on this to help with cancer. Okay, again, it's one piece of a big puzzle, but amazing, right? So when you look at this list, folks, you know, for those who are in attendance here, just curious, any guesses what you think the most important thing here on this list? And again, there's really no wrong answers, but what do you think is the most important? Any guesses? Besides Joe? Anybody else? Cardiovascular? Okay. Any other guesses? Oxygen. Yes. So again, no wrong answers, but I feel, and we feel at Nutritional Frontiers, in this entire list, the most important is improving oxygen into the cells. DMG is one of the only substances on the planet that will increase oxygen that we can take orally, that will increase oxygen into the cells. And when we do this, folks, everything else will follow, okay? And by the way, all bacteria cannot survive in an oxygen-rich environment. All viruses, and I mean all viruses, cannot survive in an oxygen-rich environment. All parasites, all spirochetes. So DMG is part of my Lyme protocol, where 99% of people feel 100% better in one bottle. Okay, again, it's one piece of a puzzle, but a very important piece. And cancer cannot survive in an oxygen-rich environment. So when we do this, it will help with so many other issues, okay? But that methylation is also critical, you know, so we'll talk about that in a minute as well. But folks, I've looked at thousands of ingredients, thousands of studies. There's nothing that does what DMG does, nothing, okay? So let's get into more some of the additional benefits. Yes, Joe? Well, you weren't we addressed that already, but yes, it'll methylize. It'll make all the other nutrients more absorbable, so you're going to get faster, quicker results. Yes, so you weren't here at that particular moment. All right, so now that's right, Joe. Now, when we look at all additional applications, so yesterday I did a talk on fitness. Okay, athletic performance. We use DMG in our athletic formulas, such as our Pro Oranges. In fact, all of our fruit and vegetable drinks, we use DMG, which also makes it very unique. We use it in our Power Fuel, okay? Great mitochondria energy formula. And we use it in our Super Creatine formula, which nobody else I've ever seen does, right? So it's going to reduce lactic acid, improve muscle recovery. Again, the heart side, okay? So cholesterol, blood pressure, right? All these issues that people are seeing doctors about, DMG has been shown to help. Boost your immune, as I mentioned, right? As I mentioned, viral bacterial benefits, okay? Autism. So there's great research on DMG. We'll show you a couple studies in a second. Goes back to the 80s with helping and managing autism. Seizures as well, all brain function, okay? Arthritis, joint issues. We use it in our X-Flame formula. Because of that additional, you're getting faster benefits with the other ingredients in the X-Flame. Lupus and all autoimmune issues. Great research on it, especially when for lupus and rheumatoid, combine it with Pernamuscle, which is also known as green lipid muscle, okay? And cancer, anti-tumor activity, right? So again, on and on and on. Not everything is going to, fit for you personally, but you might know somebody who does, a family member, friend, neighbor. So again, this is great research, great information to pass on to them. All right, so always safety is number one with all of our formulas at Nutritional Frontiers, and DMG is one of the safest supplements that you can take of all time. There's been studies done at USC, at Clemson, okay? When we made this original PowerPoint a few years ago, now we're over 30 years into not one single adverse event. And then technically anything you could take too much and die from, you can drink too much water and die from, and it has happened. But in order to you to have an overdose of DMG, you would have to consume 4,000 chewables at once, which is virtually physically and financially hard to do. Okay? So again, very, very safe is the point of this. It will not interfere with any medication. We would just recommend you take this at least an hour apart from any medication, which is a good general rule of thumb with all supplements. Okay, taken an hour apart, but no contraindications whatsoever. All right. So dosage. All right. So this is where it gets. We try to simplify this for you, but when DMG first came out back in this 80s, 70s, and 80s, the supplement companies were using very small amounts, and people were not getting results. And so this is one of the things that we try to do is give you the clinical dosage, and try to simplify this for you. So the more serious the situation, the more aggressive we need to be with any supplement to help it out here. So, but just basically, very simply here, general use in healthy aging, 125 to 500 milligrams. Now, one chew of this is 500 milligrams. So, one a day. By the way, we know there's a lot of different supplements on the market for anti-aging, but DMG is the ultimate anti-aging supplement when you increase oxygen into the cells. Okay? So always keep that in mind. Okay. When we look at all the other dosages here regarding all these other health issues, roughly they're between 500 and 1,000, okay, milligrams, except for cancer. Cancer, the minimum would be 1,500 milligrams. Okay, so if you have any type of health issue, inflammatory issue, we would recommend 2 a day of the chewables, 1 in the morning and 1 at noon. Okay. If you have active cancer, we would do a third dose by 3 p.m. We typically don't want to take it after 3 p.m. because one of the things that it does is it converts to ATP energy. And so we don't want to interfere with sleep. So you don't typically want to take DMG by itself after 3 p.m. Okay? But most of the people that you're going to work with or you see are going to be either 1 or 2 a day. Okay? Now, again, I would never recommend something that I personally don't use myself or have tried myself. And ever since I found out about DMG 15 years ago, I've been taking it every single day for 15 years straight. Okay? Just 1 in the morning. Right? It's very simple and easy. Okay? Now, the liquid is not going to be as strong as the chewable. The liquid is 300 milligrams per dropper full. Okay? So who would we recommend the liquid to? Would be for babies, infants, toddlers, and animals. Now, you might say, why would a baby need DMG? Well, We've had cases with earaches, okay, where nothing was working. And so you can actually, we recommended put a couple drops in the ear pocket, hold it in that ear pocket in the baby or infant for 30 to 60 seconds. Make sure it doesn't fall out. And then he would just drink a little bit just based on the body weight. And we've helped clear up earaches like that when nothing else worked. Also, for the last couple winters, there's been some outbreak of RSV, upper respiratory issues, and it affects babies, infants, and toddlers the most. So we've had numerous case studies and testimonials where doctors have given this, practitioners have given the liquid DMG to them, and within 24, 48 hours, clears it up. Because again, increases oxygen into the cells, is obviously into the lungs as well. But animals, so some of the original studies that were done with DMG were done on animals. And believe it or not, in animal world, there's actually stricter standards on testing and supplementation and research than human studies. But some of the original studies go back to the 70s with horses, but we also recommend this for dogs, cats. We've had some incredible results with this. You can actually even put the liquid in your eyes, so people with dry eyes. The liquid, there's no flavor, there's no taste. It's basically like water, okay? But obviously with animals, we would dose it based on body weight, but we've had some incredible cases with animals as well through the years too, okay? So we don't work just with humans. We can help with animals with DMG. So keep that in mind. All right. So we're going to, because it does so many different things, we're just kind of focus on the patents that you can see. But obviously it helps with all these other aspects. Now, at this point in time, usually somebody will say, well, how does this work? How does it do all these amazing things? And this is how, folks. Okay, so kind of want you to put on your chemistry hat. Try to go back to your chemistry days in high school. All right, but this is a simplified version of the methylation chart. Okay, and your body goes through these different sequences and steps, and this is happening in every cell in the body every second of the day. And there's over 1 trillion cells in our body, and that's how incredible the human body is, folks, that this is happening in a blink of an eye. So we want to read this from left to right. So when we look at that chart, you see DMG, okay? That is the beginning of the methylation process, okay? And so we go through these series of conversions, okay? So it goes from sarcosine, then to glycine, then to serine. Some of it converts to methionine, and then into SAMe. From there, some of it converts into ATP, energy, okay? Then some of it goes directly to homocysteine, and then into cysteine, eventually glutathione. Glutathione, folks, is your master antioxidant, your master detoxifier. And it's really hard to increase glutathione naturally through a supplement. Just taking regular glutathione does not increase glutathione. So in the past, we've had to backdoor it with DMG, NAC, vitamin C. But now, some of the new technology, there's a new type of glutathione called Emotheon that does break down and is absorbed. And we use that, by the way, in our Proline Greens, and we use that in our Live Complete capsules. Okay, but for years and years, it's always been a challenge to increase glutathione. But DMG is one of the few supplements that has been shown to increase glutathione, okay? But let's break this down even further. Let's bring this to real world, real life, because every single person on the planet is out of balance in one of these conversions, okay? So let's look at serine. If you're a poor serine methylator, that's associated with neurological issues, autism, ADD, ADHD, all those issues, okay? Out of balance. Homocysteine, which most doctors do test for, is associated with cardiovascular issues as well as early detection of dementia and Alzheimer's now. Okay? Cysteine is for the liver, your master detoxifier for your liver. And you ever wonder why some people can drink coffee, right after supper, right after dinner time, and they can go to bed no problem, and other people drink coffee and they're bouncing off the walls for 2 days, can't touch it? This is why. They're not properly methylating their cysteine. Okay? So these are just some real examples of this. Also, something else that I want to mention, ever since we've been able to crack the genetic code by Dr. Bruce Lipton, what we've discovered now is that a majority of us humans have some genetic SNPs, they call it, or flaws, okay, genetically speaking, okay? And so one of the major ones goes by the acronym MTHFR. And if you have this genetic SNP, it's really hard for you to methylate, okay? You should absolutely avoid regular folic acid. It's actually hazardous to your health, right? And so we now have better forms of folic acid, folate, or we use the 4th generation now, quadrifolic, in our formulas, and everybody can break that down, absorb that. But if you have this genetic SNP, right, and it's estimated that 50% of the U.S. population has this, that actually regular folic acid is hazardous and toxic to your brain, your liver, and your heart. So if you have this genetic SNP, and they can test you right here, folks, right? So lab test, get results back in 3 weeks, right? If you don't know if you have this or not, or you can always see your PCP and request this, right? But DMG would be absolutely essential if you have this genetic SNP, right? 1 out of 2 people do. That's how big time this is. That's how important this is. So again, don't get too caught up in if this overwhelms you, this chart, but just keep this in mind very simply. Methylation is a fancy word for absorption. And if you are a poor methylator, you're not absorbing your nutrients. Okay, so that's what we talk about at the very beginning. If you combine DMG with anything else, you will get faster, quicker results because it will help with the absorption. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Also, by the way, it will help your medications absorb better. So again, we never want to go off any medication. You always want to work with your PCP, whoever prescribed it to you. But the whole idea, if the medication is working more efficiently and better for you, hopefully your health issue that you're taking it for is improving. And when you go back to your PCP, hopefully he can lower the dose or to the point where none at all, which is always the ultimate goal. Because, again, we're always concerned about the potential side effects from any drug, okay? But this is what this does, folks. This is what makes this unique and completely different. And as I mentioned, there's no other supplement that does this, right? Okay. If you did not believe a word that I just said, all right, maybe you'll believe Dr. Roger Kendall. Maybe you will believe a PhD molecular biochemist. So I just gave you the Cliff Note version, but Dr. Kendall wrote this book. Again, it is incredible. He breaks down each one of these conditions, a whole chapter on cancer, whole chapter on autism, right? I strongly recommend you check this book out if you're interested in the whole history of DMG, and in the back there's hundreds of studies and references with this. Okay. All right, now let's get into the patents. Okay, so this is also what makes this very unique. And this is the only time I've ever seen a US supplement that actually has a US patent to treat a specific condition. So every other supplement will always have a disclaimer: may not prevent, treat, or cure disease on the bottom of the somewhere on the bottle, okay, or on the text sheet. Because only drugs can make health claims, but DMG is the exception. Now you might say, well, how is that possible? Didn't the FDA and the DEA come after DMG? Yes, they did. Yes, they went after the manufacturers of DMG and the claims that they were making. And they took them to court. And they spent millions of dollars fighting this in court. But they won. They beat the FDA and the DEA on DMG, right? But I was just talking to a new doctor the other day who never heard of DMG. And he said, well, how come I've never heard of it? And I tell him the situation, the history. Because the suppliers of it spent all their money fighting this legally. They had no money to spend on marketing it to the general public. That's why, okay? And that's why most people have never heard of this. So now the patents are only good for 20 years. So the patents did run out and they couldn't renew it because they ran out of money. So we have to use it in past tense, but it's still incredibly powerful to say that these had all these U.S. patents on it. So the first patent is on the treatment of arthritis and inflammation using DMG. And folks, every single chronic health condition is inflammation. And so this supplement will help with all inflammation. Okay? So goes back to 91. It looked at all these different inflammatory markers, PGE2 and interleukin-6 and all these. Again, don't get too hung up on it, but these are the same markers that drug companies test when they're testing their drugs. Do they reduce inflammation? And we can say the same exact thing with DMG. Okay? So that's the whole point with this. Now, again, if you have arthritis, especially acute arthritis, very painful, we would combine it with HA Plus and fish oil. But now we have some additional new formulas, right? We have the X-Flame, right? If you're in a lot of pain, capsule or powder. And if you, and instead of fish oil now, we have a newer form of fish oil that's called SPM. That's like fish oil on steroids. Okay, so again, the technology is always improving. So we're always looking at these newer things. So again, when you combine it, you will get faster results. So this is one of the studies, just to kind of show you, when you look at the control group there in blue with inflammation, and when you combine DMG by itself, 27% versus 66. But when you added that Perna, also known as green lipid muscle, you get even faster, quicker results. Okay? All right, so anti-inflammatory, we addressed that. Antioxidant, reduces free radical damage. And again, that actually is one way how we age, is basically rust on your cells. And that's why I said DMG is the ultimate anti-aging formula. And it helps boost your immune system as well. Okay, second patent. This is more newer. It's 2007. Again, two parts to this. Boost your immune. So modulating immune response, fancy word for boosting your immune, and for the treatment of all inflammatory disease. There it is again, folks, right? So when we look at this study, this is looking at lymphocytes, right? So you can see before and after the DMG. So they broke this down at the bottom into 3 different subcategories. First 3 were normal, second 3 sickle cell, last 3 were diabetic, right? So lymphocytes, T cells, are like Pac-Man. They eat away at the macrophages. They eat away at all the bad stuff going on in your cells. So you want as much as possible, okay? And obviously, if you are not well to begin with, like diabetes or sickle cell, you can see you have very low numbers to begin with. But the point with all this is every single case, every single study, they increase these lymphocytes. In fact, statistically speaking, they increased them by 400%. And folks, there's no drug in the world that will increase lymphocytes by 400%, but DMG will. Okay? Pretty powerful there. So, by the way, this is also why we use DMG in our Immunomax capsules and chewables. We also have a newer immune formula called Immune Boost. So especially if you have upper respiratory issues. So again, we keep simplifying these protocols where we add the DMG in it as well. Okay, next one, seizures. So you might say, Mike, I don't have seizures. Again, maybe you know somebody who does. And this is incredibly powerful study. Goes back to 1982, New England Journal of Medicine. So, folks, New England Journal of Medicine is the holy Bible of all medical doctors' research. This is what they refer to and reference to when they're doing talks. So, in 1982, DMG did a study. And so up the far left there, you can see that there was, in the study, there were 17. In the study, that people were averaging 17 seizures a week. 17. Right? And that was before the DMG. When they started the DMG, they went from 17 to 2 in 1 week. Right? They maintained that. They stopped the DMG. They went right back to where they were, 17 seizures a week. They started again, okay? But this time they started increasing the dosage. So initially they went back to the original dose, went right back down to 2 a day. But when they increased the dosage and went in week 11, you can see, well, went from like 2 down to 1 a day. At week 14, they stopped it, but very interesting. It didn't come all the way back up. It actually was better than where they started it before once they increased the dosage. And then right back week 15, they started again at that higher dosage and maintained for the next 20 weeks, 1 seizure a week. Now, folks, I've seen some incredible things in my career, but I have seen cases with seizures using DMG. One in particular that stands out, one of my other accounts, doctor, he had a patient that was averaging 80 seizures a month, 80. I showed him this exact slide, and he started taking 2 a day of the DMG, 1 in the morning, 1 at noon. Folks, he went from 80 to 0 in 1 month taking DMG. So I personally have seen this, right? So, again, know anybody that has the situation, please pass this on. And the other thing I love this study is a medical doctor cannot argue with me on it. It's in their own medical journal. They've just never seen it before. Okay? Okay. All right, autism. Okay, so improving their quality of life. We can't reverse it, can't cure it, but we can help manage it, right? And anybody who's dealt with any autistic children know it's very, very challenging. And I, really have tremendous respect for all the parents dealing with autistic children on some level. But again, look, this is a published study back in 1990 that 80% of children using DMG, 8 out of 10, showed improved verbal communication, cooperation, eating, and bathroom habits. Okay? So, again, all other benefits: verbal communication, eye contact, social interaction, sleep. Here's another study that was done, okay, about 10 years later, showing exactly the same results, right? So this is, again, same results that Dr. Jung had. So the research is out there, folks. Again, pass that on for anybody in that situation. The last one we're going to leave you with is probably the greatest one, and that is cancer. Okay? So in 1991, there is a U.S. patent on DMG to treat cancer, specifically melanoma, skin cancer, but we use it with all cancer protocols. Okay? And melanoma is one of the toughest, by the way. Okay? And again, folks, we're not telling, this is just one piece of a large puzzle. This is not the only thing we would recommend, but it's extremely important. Extremely important. Okay? So, again, this is the only supplement I've ever seen with the U.S. patent to treat cancer with. All right? Just to emphasize that. Okay? So, in animal and cell culture studies have both to prevent and reverse cancer. So, there's thousands of studies on this, but we're just going to look at one here where they actually injected tumors into mice. Okay? All right? So, that's what was happening here. So, you can see the control groups in yellow. After they used the DMG, 60% reduction in tumor size. Okay, so it's one thing to see a bar graph. Yeah, that's impressive, but let's actually see the actual tumors itself in the studies. So you can see there the green arrows, and then this was within 90 days, 60% reduction in tumors. Okay, so again, anybody who is in that situation, please pass this information on to them as well, right? So let's break this down to real life scenario here. So this is our tech sheet on EnerDMG, right? All the amazing benefits of it. Okay, so very simply, we have the chewable. Okay, 500 milligrams, tastes like a cherry sweet tart. Again, no issues, just prevention, which is always the best medicine, by the way. Just one in the morning. Any inflammatory issues? 2. One in the morning, one at noon. All right, I'm going to sample this out for everybody so you guys can try this. And anybody else listening, if you're in close proximity, come on down. You can try it as well. Again, for babies, infants, toddlers, take one. Yes, we want you to try it. Yes, see what you think. For babies, animals, or infants, toddlers, again, the liquid option, okay, as well, right? But so that is, again, if there's something that if you're not currently taking or if you've never tried before, this is a great time to consider it. Most people feel energy, like a little energy boost, but there's no caffeine. For many people say it kind of clears out the cobwebs. They can think better, clearer with that, okay? So that is all the nuts and bolts on this amazing ingredient, all right? And that's why we always call DMG stands for does me good, right? So many things that we say about it, but all we would ask you folks is to try it, okay? Especially when it's on a great sale price now. Before we go, is there any questions, Phil, or anybody in the audience have any questions on DMG? All right, thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, everybody, for the kind words. So we'll be here, folks, rest of the day. Come on down if you're not here already. Lots of great stuff happening here, but you can see why this is my favorite supplement of all time, DMG. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. God bless.